So it seems like a successor to Sweetbaby Inc., the consultancy firm that meddles in the video game industry, changing game characters in the pursuit of equality and balance when it comes to gender preferences and overall representation when it comes to racial identity, has influenced the Silent Hill remake, changing the overall look of Angela, one of the characters, to look more in line of what they see as an appropriate look for a female character in the modern day video gaming environment. Of course, the fans have started complaining about it. They're saying, what did you do to her look? Why did you give her a big jaw? What happened to her cheeks? What happened to that overall feminine look that we saw in the original Silent Hill game? And I think a lot of people are complaining about this game, and I think Hit Detection is the name of the consultancy firm that has grabbed the reins from Sweetbaby Inc. since its controversies over what it's done to Spider-Man 2, Alan Wake 2, and a multitude of other games, especially Kill the Justice League, where they absolutely demolished that game and turned it into a parody of itself with a lot of the things they did to the female characters and a lot of the male characters as well. We just saw it happen to Mr. Freeze. They turned him into a non-binary character, and of course Twink Joker, where we see a completely different side of Joker that no one really wanted to see. And Silent Hill is having that similar influence from Hit Detection. Hit Detection is a big consultancy firm that has involved itself in a multitude of games, and you can see it listed here, its interactions with Remedy Games and of course Blooper Team, which is the team that is working on the Silent Hill 2 remake. And I think that's the thing they're focusing on. The things that they do try to insert into these games are media training, sales forecasting, mock reviews, and overall interpretations and sensitivity reading. And that's where we get this overall change in the character design for Angela, where it's being done for sensitivity purposes. If you look at Hit Detection's website, they worked on a multitude of games. Sonic, a big game in and of itself that has its own diversity representation goals that kind of seeped in through the game company, especially Sega, who revamped their entire website to placate these diversity goals and DEI achievements that they're searching for. And of course, Alan Wake 2, we all know about the race swap of Saga Anderson. That was a big goal for Sweetbaby Inc. Detection was involved in that overall process as well, and now they're having to helm the Silent Hill 2 remake process by themselves without Sweetbaby Inc.'s influence. And I think this is why I call them the successor to Sweetbaby Inc. after all the controversy that happened with Sweetbaby Inc. Hit Detection took the lead, and now they're leading the remake of Silent Hill 2, and it's course led to a large backlash with people refuting the change that we saw with the character Angela. And I think just the overall gameplay and look of the Silent Hill 2 remake is just something that is not in line with what we expect from a Silent Hill game. And I think this is just going down to developers that have no passion for Silent Hill making a Silent Hill game. And you include consultancy firms that want to disrupt the overall industry in itself, that want to bring in these kind of masculine female designs because they see this as something being friendly to people that are having difficulty looking feminine. I'm talking about making trans friendly female characters, or just making body positivity friendly characters. And I think this is the case with this character, and I think it's the case with a lot of characters within the video game industry, where we have these sudden changes to these characters that come out of nowhere and we wonder what's going on. And I think the main thing that is happening here, and of course this picture is a joke where we see a fat version of Angela, but I think we're seeing these kind of interpretations of game developers or people that are working in the game having their likeness put into the game itself. And I think we see this with a lot of female characters or female developers that are working on the game. They seem to like putting themselves in the game, and you can see with some of the developers that are working on Silent Hill 2 remake, we see a lot of similarities with the Angela that we're seeing today that is being represented in the game. And I think it's obvious that you're seeing, okay, they're inserting themselves again. We saw this happen previously before with Spider-Man, where we saw two characters that look entirely like developers that are working on the game, writers that are working on the game. You saw this with Black Cat, you saw this with Mary Jane, where they completely changed Mary Jane's design to be in line with people working in the development of the game. And I think that's the thing that we're seeing often, where we see a lot of these female developers or people working on the game, they like to put themselves in the game as the lead character, as some strong, super powerful character, and you just don't see that when male developers are working on games. If they do, they just make the character look completely different, super muscular, not even any semblance of the character, because they don't really see themselves as the person that needs to be in that role. They want to make an idealistic character, while a lot of these people in the female writing staff or development process, they really just want to see themselves in the game. And I think that's the thing that we're seeing now. This idea of representation is just going far and beyond what people have asked for, where they're just disrupting the overall feel of the game because they're changing characters, established characters, to look like someone that's writing on the staff. And of course, I think Hit Detection was probably in full support of this, and you can see this happening with some of the development process of the game, where some of the elements are just not there. They just don't fit with what we're seeing in the overall Silent Hill production that we expected. We expected something more oriented. We see something that is not even in animation wise in line with the characters, and they were talking. The voice acting is very gruff, and especially for Angela, it feels more deeper. It's just, whoa, what are you doing to these characters? And I think it goes back to this representation model where they want everyone to feel represented. People that have strong masculine voices, they want them represented. And I think that's the central thing that we're seeing in this game, is just representation everywhere. And I think it's to the disadvantage of the game itself. And of course, we have to go back to these models that we have for this game. I think a lot of the characters, we see similar model designs where we get that giant jaw and big cheeks and masculine look for the characters that have been added. And I think a lot of the characters have the same surface level alteration that is being done all over the Western game developments. For some reason, a lot of designers think the women have strong masculine jaws everywhere around the world, and I think this is the thing that we're seeing in Silent Hill 2, and is just following that process that we saw happen in a multitude of games, where we get a uglification process of the female characters in the game. And I think this is something that's been happening throughout the industry. You can see it in Tomb Raider, Avengers, of course, Fable 2, Mortal Kombat, Wonder Woman. I think this is the thing that has been happening consistently throughout the industry, and we just keep getting it, no matter how many people complain about the look of these female characters. I think it's just something that has been put into motion that can't be put back into the bottle, where it is about these political activist ideals and not about making something that is visually interesting to the gamer themselves. I think Silent Hill is probably the best representation of that. You can see that in some of the things that we see in the game itself. Besides that point, I think the game just doesn't look like a Silent Hill game. It looks like a Resident Evil game, and Resident Evil is not Silent Hill. I think that is the thing that people are mostly complaining about. The character models, they can be what they are, but I think the gameplay is looking like something that we didn't expect to see in a Silent Hill game. I think that's more disruptive, and I think, interesting enough, people are complaining about the models just as much too, and that they're doing their own editing to this model. You can see people edit this in a way in 5 minutes. A fan on Twitter edit the model to look better than the video game render. I think it just shows this was intentional. That's what they're doing. I think this is just showing that Hit Detection, all these games developers with this ideology and political activist mindset, are still sticking to the things that have been ruining the video game industry consistently for the past year, and they're not going to change it. They don't care what the fans want. They don't care what they desire. They're here with their agenda, and if it destroys the video gaming industry, so be it, as long as their agenda holds in place. That's why a lot of gamers just have to stop supporting these games. Support the games that are trying to make games that are for your ideal gamer mindset, and just keep to those games. And I think that's what gamers are doing already. And this game getting the backlash it's getting right now, I don't foresee in the future where this is going to be a big success. But you tell me what you think about the situation. What do you think about Angela and her reconstructive surgery to her face to make her look like one of the female developers on the game? I think that is an interesting thing that we're seeing in the industry, and it's funny that it's continuing on Silent Hill 2. But you tell me what you think about the situation. I'd like to hear your comments. Like, share, subscribe. This is Wagner Knows Why. Catch you next time.